Sight for a date.
Hi, and welcome back to your Pennsylvania Dutch Minute. Something special this episode. I've been getting a lot of emails of people asking for me to do some cooking and food themed videos, and in the future I do want to do some on-site cooking videos with a good friend of mine. Just we haven't been able to work that out yet. But in the meantime, it's going towards the end of the summer here, and it's time to make one of the most quintessential Pennsylvania Dutch dishes, and that is sauerkraut. So today I'm going to show you guys how my family makes sauerkraut. It's really one of the easiest things to make. All it takes is a little bit of work and then time, and let time do its thing. So real quick, the things that I use, of course, cabbage. Picked my cabbage this morning. The heads didn't do as well as they have in the past. We had a kind of a rough growing season, a lot of rain up front and not very much on the back end. You'll also need a big crock. This is what your sauerkraut's actually going to be fermenting in. You'll need something to cut your cabbage with. You could of course do it by hand with a knife, but you know, any good Pennsylvania Dutchman will have one of these. A grauthubel, a cabbage cutter, and we'll slide the cabbage across that to shred it. And then the only other ingredient is salt. That's it. Cabbage, salt, and a crock, and thyme. So the basic recipe is for every 5 pounds of shredded cabbage goes in 3 tablespoons of salt. And you mix that up, pack that in the crock, and we'll show you how we do that throughout the process here. We're going to make a little bit for you. But that's it. Sauerkraut's super easy. Any of you out there could try this. So step 1 in the sauerkraut making process, you've had everything, you got all your stuff. Wash the cabbage, of course. Watch for worms if these are, that happens. If you bought your cabbage at the grocery store, most likely you'll be okay. But if you're growing it out of your own garden like we did, there's always little friends in there. You want to make sure you look for those. But then the next thing would be to prepare it and start shredding it. So I usually cut mine into, depending how big the head of cabbage is, into quarters or halves. And then over your grauthubel, if you got one of these, you just simply do that. And really quickly, you'll have shredded, fine shredded cabbage, okay? And again, we're gonna do this 5 pounds. Every 5 pounds, we're gonna stop, we're gonna keep weighing it. I have a scale, and then it gets the mix of just 3 tablespoons of salt, and we'll show you that process next. All right, we have next step in the process. We have 5 pounds of shredded cabbage. And again, this is my family's recipe. Maybe other recipes you might find out there have different ratios, but what we always did was 5 pounds of shredded cabbage, and then simply just any kind of salt. I mean, iodized Morton salt's fine. I don't know, there's all those new salts out there today as far as kosher salt and so forth. I mean, I don't the ratio would be different if you're using kosher salt, but we always did it with just, you know, regular iodized salt. So 5 pounds of shredded cabbage, 3 tablespoons of salt, and we're simply going to sprinkle this into the cabbage. And then we get our hands dirty, and we're just gonna mix this up so that the salt gets evenly distributed. We wanna try and keep everything in the bowl, which isn't always the easiest. This bowl serves many functions in our kitchen here. This is what we mix our Fosnacht dough in February, and that's usually what we use to mix our sauerkraut in. We're just simply moving the cabbage around so that the salt gets evenly distributed. You can't really tell, you just have to go with it. It's a good job for kids. Alright, and once you think you have that mixed good enough, then we're simply going to take this all and put it into our crock. Now, crocks, if you don't have one, I would check your local hardware store. Sometimes hardware stores like Ace or True Value will sell crocks in their canning section with their canning supplies. But hopefully you have an old family one that's done years and years of sauerkraut, and maybe you just didn't help and now's your chance. It was, you know, you got it from the family. But get yourself a good crock. So we're gonna take this cabbage, and here's my crock. This is a 5-gallon crock because I don't usually do more than that. And we're just gonna simply take the cabbage and put it into the crock. Nothing else in the crock at this point. It's just been cleaned. Throw our cabbage in. And then try and get whatever's left. You might have some salt there in the bowl too. We want to get all that because we need that. Okay. And then they do make tools. You can get what's called a cabbage presser, like a stumper. Some people I've seen have big poles that they push down. Looks like a butter churner. But the point is you just want to press this down. I usually just use my fist. It's good enough. Press this down tight. Like that. Good enough. And then your next batch, now from this point on, you'll just keep, you know, if you have more heads of cabbage and you shred them, same process. 5 ponds, 3 tablespoons of salt, into the crock, press that down. So I have a couple more heads to shred. I'll take care of that and mix that up with the salt, and then we'll come back and see how much we have total, and then we'll talk about the next step in the process. Okay, we are now on to our last step in the sauerkraut making process. I've shredded all the cabbage, ended up being a little bit under 15 pounds. It's all in the crock, stamped down pretty hard. And now we're down here in my cold cellar. And if you don't have a cold cellar, any place that's cool and dark, so even your regular, you know, if you just have a regular cellar, you can use that. This house has a cold cellar. Most Pennsylvania Dutch farmhouses, of course, have some kind of a cold cellar or storage cellar. So the point is you want to have it in some place that's dark and relatively cool, and just let it sit. So the next step, what I always do is it's stamped down, like I said. It just happens that a pie plate or a dinner plate fits perfectly right in over top of the cabbage. And that's gonna help. And then what I usually do, I take a brick, put it in a Ziploc bag so it doesn't get any dirt, and I just lay that right on top of the plate just to put pressure on the cabbage. So now what I'll do is just take a black garbage bag or any kind of bag, doesn't have to be black, could be a white kitchen garbage bag. Open it up, put it over the crock so that nothing can get in. And then I take some kind of string, of course, and just wrap it around and tie it a couple times so that it's tight. This one's a little long, but that's okay. And you just let this baby go now. So 6 weeks, don't touch it, don't open it up to look, just let the salt do its magic. It's gonna ferment that cabbage. 6 weeks is over, to the day or so, come down, take everything off, take the plate off. A lot of times what you'll find is that top layer of the sauerkraut might be a little dark, sometimes even black, depending on the process and the type of cabbage. You just want to take that top layer off that's dark. Once you get underneath that, you'll see the white, beautiful sauerkraut, and then it's up to you what you want to do with it. We can ours. You can see here some from last year. We jar ours and can it. But you can freeze it. I know people that freeze it in Ziploc bags and it tends to be okay. It's just we've always canned ours. And then that's it. It's super easy, as I said. The only thing it takes is time and just a little bit of work. Salt, remember the ratio, 5 pounds of cabbage to 3 tablespoons of salt. And every time just keep mixing that. And then 6 weeks. And that's it. It's really one of the easiest things to make. Always remember to be clean though, you know, your sanitation's important, especially with your crock. Make sure it's good and clean before you put the cabbage in. But that's it. 6 weeks later, you'll have fresh sauerkraut, and if you have a great party, invite everybody over and have fresh out of the crock is delicious. So, hope I taught you a little bit how to make sauerkraut, a Pennsylvania Dutch staple. We say in Pennsylvania Dutch, I'm as Dutch as sauerkraut. So, I mean, it is an important part of our cuisine and our culture, and I hope this helped. In the future, we'll do some more cooking videos with traditional Pennsylvania Dutch food, hopefully with some guests as well. But until next time, keep practicing your Pennsylvania Dutch. Use the word sauerkraut, eat a bunch between now and then. Keep the questions coming if you have ideas for future videos. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, and Max Good.
Max Good.